Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I still cannot get to the Star Trek one. This one was more required than anything else. Required for a few reasons. A, it annoyed me, and B, it fulfills my point right off the bat. The point I made in my other video. Let me explain it first. A bill is being pushed through. HR3441. Now, this bill, just to give a summary, is called Save Local Business Act. Oh, that sounds nice. We're saving local businesses. That sounds nice. I mean, I like mom and pop shops. I think mom and pop shops are great. But let's read the bill first before we give the bill credit. I mean, it is a Republican bill, and Republicans for the most part have one modus operandi: lower my taxes, fuck over workers, function for the plutocrats. You're our puppets. You're our puppets. HR 344 amends the National Labor Relations Act and the Fair Labor Standards Act to clarify that two or more employees may be considered joint employees only if they have actual, direct, and immediate control over employees, essential terms and conditions of employment. HR 3441, here we go, rolls back to decisions by the NLRB in Browning Ferris and the United States Court of Appeals of the Fourth Circuit with respect to FSLA and Salinas versus Commercial Interiors Incorporation, as well as similar decisions by regulators and other courts. That is magnificently unclear. I would imagine it's supposed to be magnificently unclear, because if any ordinary person read that and it actually said what it actually does, or the intention of it, they would be aghast. This is going to affect 24 million people. And let me explain what this does. I had no clue what this was. And look, I looked this up online and could not find that much information about it at all. And I was like, why isn't this more well known? Now, I remember the decision for this. I remember when the decision took place. And I remember thinking to myself, good. That's a good choice. And there's some things that you get, this kind of incremental change in a Democratic administration. That's, again, it's a little bit sweeter. Incremental. It's these small little wins. It's just, ooh, that's nice. It's so infrequent, but oh, it's blistering out here, but oh man, that's a nice little breeze that happens every so often. This was a nice little breeze. In a nutshell, places like McDonald's, let's say fast food places. Let me explain what goes on, and then I'll explain the ruling, and I would explain what this is doing. It's trying to create a loophole that allow employers to get away with something that's kind of fucked up. So, places like McDonald's, those things are franchises. You may have a person who's a local business owner who has a franchise working with McDonald's. Now, McDonald's has these things standardized, meaning he can't just go start selling Whoppers at his McDonald's. There's certain contractual terms that he has to abide by. Your sandwich is going to be X. The bread is going to be from this particular place. Your place is going to look in this particular fashion. You're going to carry my M. You're going to wear this particular uniform. You're going to standardize yourself based on the standards that we ourselves set. We are directing you in pretty much every capacity. You're just a robot. You're a franchise. Now, McDonald's wanted to say, if anything takes place in that particular franchise, meaning if they're stealing people's wages, if they're screwing around with people's hours, whatever, if there are things that are going on in that franchise, McDonald's wants to say, this has nothing to do with us. This has everything to do with the franchise. Now, that case kind of made this point, well, no, you're telling these guys what to do in every particular capacity. I mean, in the overwhelming majority of things that takes place within the restaurant itself, you're telling them what to do. That person may manage it from that particular thing, but ultimately, that's your restaurant. You take like 50% of the profits, or how much ever the profits you take. But that's pretty much your restaurant. You're directing that particular enterprise. Yes, that person may be managing it, but ultimately, you're directing the enterprise. McDonald's wanted to be hands-off. The decision essentially was, you're not hands-off. You're liable. You're liable. If you're going to have that much control over that particular enterprise, you're liable. Now, this wants to say you're not liable anymore. You have a loophole. You remember when you were able to steal wages? Good job. You can do that again now. McDonald's is not on the hook. Burger King is not on the hook. Those franchise operators will be off the hook. Fight for 15 is freaking out about this. And I would imagine labor unions should also be freaking out about this. Now, this is kind of one of those things of worker solidarity that always gets me a little. It always annoys me a little. Because I always feel like I saw this and I thought to myself, why don't I know anything about this? And if I don't know about it, I can almost promise you that the average person has no idea that people are freaking out about it, has no idea what this even is, or that this is moving through Congress. I'm going to show you Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison actually gave a pretty decent summary on what was going on with this. So let's flip to this.
Understand that when a franchisor, the big headquarters, tells a franchisee, you got to do every single thing we tell you to. You basically work for us. We're going to tell you the size of the sandwich. We're going to tell you the kind of oil to use. We're going to tell you how to schedule your workers. We're going to basically control your enterprise, though you're supposed to be an independent business. What the Obama administration said is we're going to treat you as if you're joint employers. So if there's a wage theft, or if there is unfairness on the job, or if there is some problem that comes up with workers, then the company, the big company, the headquarters will be also held responsible for solving the problem. What the Republicans do today, Mr. Speaker, is say, no, we might impose all these conditions on you per the franchisee agreement. But if there's problems, this is going to be your problem, franchisee. This is absolutely unfair. As workers are going all over this country trying to get higher wages, there's a whole movement for them to get livable wages for people who work every single day at our fast food chains. They're going to their local franchisee owners to ask for those wages. But if the franchisor says, you can't pay any more than this, we're going to restrict you in a multiple number of ways, we're going to make you sell food items at a cost that you can't even sustain, like the dollar menu, those things cost more than $1, folks. But the big headquarters says you got to only charge $1 as a promotion. Well, the franchisee has to eat that. But when workers need more money, they say we need more money. The big company makes that impossible, and then workers are left holding the bag along with the franchisee. The joint employer rule, holding both sides responsible for those wage theft, for pay, for hours, these things make a more fair process and require the big headquarters to take responsibility as well. So we urge a no on this. This is an anti-worker bill. This is an anti-small business bill, which is somewhat surprising, Speaker.
That thing he said at the end, this is an anti-small business bill. Keith Ellison has a point on that one. Think about it. You're a person who starts McDonald's, and you know what I mean. You essentially go into a franchise contract with McDonald's, and McDonald's says, "Hey, we have a promotion. We need you to sell chicken nuggets for $1. We need you to have a $1 menu and have all those items for $1." Now, what if you're barely making ends meet as is? Let's say you're in a place where it's not necessarily doing all that great, and now you have to eat this particular cost. Well, he's kind of making this point that you guys are joint owners at this point. If anything goes on where something is going wrong because you are trying to skimp on wages because you can't afford to pay your workers because of the way McDonald's is making that particular deal, I think he's trying to make this argument that the franchisee or the person who's the business owner in this case should want McDonald's to be on the hook with him for that particular enterprise. I think that's the point he's trying to make. But like in those particular arrangements, it's somewhat unfair to the business owner in those particular cities or those particular areas. Why would you want to be left to your own devices in this case? I think that's the point he's making. After saying it, I don't know if that point fully follows, but I think I know where he gets at. Is like, why do you want to be left to your own devices in these situations? But besides the point, what I care about in this situation are the workers themselves, and how this is going to some degree, leave it potentially possible for those people to be disenfranchised. You have big business who is pushing for this like mad, meaning McDonald's is pushing for this particular bill to go through because it would advantage McDonald's because they can now pull themselves off the hook for the things that their owners do. That's what it boils down to. And by the way, there are 8 Democrats that went along with this. Let's show them. Say cheese. These Democrats voted with the Republicans to pass legislation that hurts American workers. Lou Correa, California. Oh, California. Liberal California. Good job. Henry Clare, Texas. Colin Peterson, I think that's Minnesota. Scott Peters, another California. Good job, Colin Peterson. Amy Berea, more California. Kurt Schrader, Oregon. And Stephanie Murphy of Florida. Good job, Democrats. Good job. Good job. So when people ask, look, I've said it before. There's a nice gentle wind every so often with the Democrat. Those Democrats should live in scorn, by the way. If you're going to be in a party that you say you represent workers, you represent American workers, we need to get back the American worker. But when the American worker is not working, you're plunging another knife in that worker's back. NAFTA was passed by Bill Clinton. Obama tried to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have took that knife and turned it. Took that knife and turned it. The little change, the incremental, tiny change that says, hey, if the franchisee is cheating the workers, then the company itself is on the hook. Meaning the company shouldn't necessarily do things that will put that franchisee in a situation where they may try to skimp around the margins. That little incremental change. The greedy, the pigs on 2 feet are trying to claw back. They're trying to claw back. This is my point with incremental change. Any little tepid thing that you do, when these people get in a position, they will try to claw those changes back. This is a never-ending cycle. If you're going to play this game of capitalism where you're just moving around deck chairs and you try to get a little bit more progressive policy, and then when they're in office, they try to claw back the gains of that little bit progressive policy, the point of this is to win. Those people need to lose. Not having a situation like this where the workers themselves, I mean, mind you, the least on the food chain. The least on the food chain. And they want the opportunity to be able to do the same thing the workers that they were doing before. These ideal wage theft and everything else. The entire point, the reason why they passed that thing was because of these issues of wage theft. They wanted to put the company on the hook itself. Democrats. Yes, there's some fighting for it. There were several on his Twitter page that I put at the bottom of fighting for it. But if you're going to be the party of workers, shouldn't you unapologetically be the party of workers? Are you going to ostracize these guys falling out of line? I'm making this point that there should be a fundamental principle thing of what it means to be a Democrat. And if you're going to say we're the party of workers and we represent unions and you want all of that support, you shouldn't have people in your group doing this. You shouldn't have people in your group doing this. I don't care that it's only 8. It shouldn't be any. It shouldn't be any. And for the moment, let's go beyond that. Unions. Unions. When are you tired of getting slapped? Are you tired of getting slapped? Are you tired of them telling you that you have nowhere else to go? You have nowhere else to go. It doesn't matter what we do. No, we're not going to pass the Employee Free Choice Act to make it easier for people to form unions. That's not going to happen. Yes, we're going to ferociously push the Trans-Pacific Partnership in order to subvert unions already. You guys have withered at the vine. You believe that apathy, just because the Republicans were antagonistic towards you, that apathy was somehow better. Apathy is not better. Apathy is not better. I understand that Republicans are antagonistic. I understand that they're vicious with regards to your aims. They're serving your competition. But do you also understand that with Democrats, you have withered at the vine? They have attacked you in Wisconsin. They've attacked you in Ohio. In one state after the next, they've attacked you and they've weakened you year after year after year. And the party that you've supported, the party that you stomped for, that you did signs for, that you were the muscle for, Sat there and watched. Just sat there and watched. Bask in our apathy. Bask in our apathy. Are you tired of apathy? Are you tired of apathy? Are you being tired of you have nowhere else to go? I'm making this point that when are you going to get to the point where you're dumping that party? They believe that you have nowhere else to go. They believe that you don't have a choice but to vote for them in that particular way. I think you need to break them of that choice, of that illusion, and put a stake in their heart in this. Get somebody that unabashedly represents your interests and the interests of the people who you ally with, meaning workers. There are 24 million people who this bill is going to affect, potentially adversely affect. Clawing back the littlest of gains, these tiny incremental changes, there you go, clawing these back. It's fucking amazing. Let's show you these Democrats again. Yes, this was awesome. And this list is also at the bottom. This is fucking amazing to me. Look, man, big changes. Like, and I know, you know, this tiny incrementalism, it's not where it is. A radical, bold vision of what you want to accomplish, and you get the public behind that vision. If you need to create this kind of, there's an emergency that we need to do something about, then create that threat of an emergency that we need to do something about. And I'm not saying create a threat. I just mean there are things that you can galvanize the public around. I would argue economics is one of those big things, meaning a class debate. A class debate. Have that debate. Democrats are not going to have that debate because they're not beholden. They're beholden to a particular interest. Republicans don't give a shit about that debate. They don't want to get anywhere near that debate. But come on, unions. These workers that is going to disenfranchise. Even the workers that this is not going to affect. Are you telling me you don't want to have that debate? Do you understand the wealth gap in this country? Speaking of that, the party that unions have allied themselves with, that they stomp for and support, this is gains through the presidents. If you notice, from 2009 to 2012, 95% of the wealth went to the top 1% under Barack Hussein Obama. The guy was supposed to be a radical, leftist, socialist, whatever. Gave 95% of the wealth to the top 1%. That's the party you supported. They looked at you and told you had nowhere else to go. And they turned around and stuck a knife in your back. Are you sick of this party? At which point do you just say, even if I'm just saying no, I'm not voting for you? I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to rail. I'm not going to rail. I'm not going to rant. No, I'm trying to avoid my ranting because I actually do want to get to the Star Trek one. Yeah. I want to get the Star Trek one, so I'm not going to do this one. Jamal is addicted to live stream time for the intervention. No, it's not that. I can do it. It depends on what it is. So if it's something that's not all that complicated, then yeah, I just do a live stream. If it's something that I think I may royally fuck up on, then yeah, I may do it locally first. In cases where I'm doing something that's complicated, live streaming, I'm always the thing in the back of my head, like, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up. All right, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Look, man, workers build this country. Flat fact. I mean, you can say capital all you want, but at the end of the day, the thing that matters are the resources and the people who can use those resources. The capital is. It's a hindrance to most of those things. You've arranged your society in a way where capital is just king. It doesn't have to be that way. It's the way it's arranged currently. Even if you want to keep it in this particular way, certainly giving 95% of the wealth to the top 1% is not good. The income gap is greater than it was at the Great Depression. We've reached a new gilded age with very few of them at the top and everybody else at the bottom. And the presidents and the people who you're supporting in the Democratic Party are assisting in that. You're withering at the vine. And they're, even though they're apathetic, they're letting you wither away. What about somebody who unabashedly represents your interests? What about that? What about that? Isn't that a fantastic radical idea? If you're going to be attacked anyway, even with a Democrat or Republican, why don't you go out on your own and find something that represents your interests unabashedly, unapologetically, and support that particular group vociferously? Give them your support if they're going to give you their support. Supporting these guys is not representing your interests or the interests of workers in this country. You get these minor incremental things, but the things that you consider to be good are just in comparison to how bad the Republicans are. There's a difference in those things. There's a massive difference in those things. I'll leave it at that. I keep saying I'm going to end it, and yes, I'm going to end it right now. If you enjoy the content, share, like, subscribe, and of course, Patreon. Thanks, guys.